you're watching Overdrive. Now, the Citroen C5 Aircross and the Hyundai Tucson are pretty much identical in terms of their mechanical orientation, and yet there are finer details that do edge one SUV over the other. It's time to find out what those finer details are.
Even the powertrain is quite easygoing. First up, this is right up there with Hyundai in terms of the refinement. We've often said this, that the new generation Hyundai diesel engines feel very refined, and this engine is no less. It feels very refined. That gravelly note is not there. Even higher up the rev range, you don't really hear the engine all that much. The overall sound insulation is also quite good, not only for the powertrain noises, but also for curbing the road noises, the tire noise, etc. It curbs all of that quite nicely. In fact, this is a more silent cabin than even the Tucson. And though I say that the powertrain is easy going, when you go pedal to the metal, it's not too slow. It's about a second slower compared to the Tucson, but it's still a sub 10 second 0 to 100 timing. That is pretty quick. Even the roll-on timings are marginally slower than the Tucson, but you will not really feel that difference. That difference is more on paper than in the real world. The gearboxes on both these cars are brilliant. These are 8-speed torque converters, and they work just as intended. They are quite telepathic. They don't really make you wait too long for a downshift. Even the upshifts are nice and quick. So nice enjoyable powertrains on both these cars. Just that the C5 feels a little bit more mature, a little bit more laid back. It's not as sporty, as eager as the Tucson.
Compared to the C5 Aircross, the Tucson is only marginally powerful. But on the road, the difference feels vast because of how the engine responds and accelerates.
The first thing you notice when you get off the mark in the new Tucson is the kind of eager response that you get from this diesel engine. So diesel to diesel comparison, this one puts out more power on paper, and it immediately shows in the kind of throttle response that this gives you. Now this may or may not be to everyone's taste, and that's because that initial, the low-end response is a bit too sharp, and that may not be to everyone's liking. It might feel overwhelming for some.
The Tucson is available in multiple powertrain options, while the C5 Aircross limits your choices to a diesel automatic, but a finely tuned powertrain at that, and more fuel efficient too. Its driving modes also feel far more effective than the Tucson, especially when you want a calm and composed drive in the city environment.
The jewel in the crown for the C5 is the ride quality. That is the biggest talking point for the C5. Even over the harsher stuff, the suspension remains nice and silent. It's a beautiful feeling. For this particular price point, in fact, anything in and around this price point, I think it just nails it. It is better than some of the German luxury cars when it comes to ride quality. The flip side to that, of course, is the handling. The handling manners, they don't feel as focused as the Tucson. They don't feel as taut as, say, the Compass or even the Tiguan for that matter. There is a fair bit of vertical movement. Of course, if you are easy with the car, if you go with that laid-back nature of this car, the laid-back nature of the powertrain, and if you're easy with the car around bends, it feels nice and composed. It loves to go around the bends, maintaining its composure. Just be too harsh with the vehicle, just enter the corner too fast or something, and then you realize that, yeah, there is a fair bit of roll. It does lean quite a bit over the outer wheels, and then things can get a bit unnerving. In terms of the ride quality, Hyundai has been doing some pretty good setups for the Indian market. Now, compared to the outgoing Tucson, the new one has a bit of a firm edge to it. But the ride quality is quite good, not too much to complain about. But on the harsher stuff, it does tend to thud quite a bit.
Speaking of security and safety, while both have plenty of safety features, the Euro NCAP has awarded 4 stars to the pre-facelift Citroen C5 Aircross, which also had ADAS features in Europe back in 2019. The Indian C5 does not get them even today, despite the inflated price tag. The Hyundai Tucson has earned a 5-star rating at the Euro NCAP last year, and its spec is pretty similar to the model sold in India.
You've probably heard those beeps. Now that is ADAS. One very big news or one headlining feature about the Tucson is the availability of the ADAS functionality, the ADAS safety features, lane keep assist, forward collision warning, auto braking, adaptive cruise control. All those kind of things are available, which adds another layer of safety to the already long list of safety features that this car has to offer. That is one other department where the Tucson clearly outshines the C5. Another department where the Tucson one-ups the C5 is with the availability of the all-wheel drive option. If you are, say, staying in the hilly areas, maybe up north where you have snowy, icy conditions at times, or maybe down south, Chikmagalur, Coorg, those kind of areas, and you need the option of an all-wheel drive to maybe drive on some slippery conditions, you have that option with the Tucson. With the C5, at least in the India spec model, you don't get that.
Though I wish that Hyundai should have added the traction control modes or terrain modes to the non-AWD variants as well, just like the C5 or even its lesser siblings from Kia. Interestingly though, for the price of the C5 Aircross, you can get yourself a Tucson diesel all-wheel drive or even a Compass all-wheel drive. And this is where Citroen loses the plot. Sure, it feels premium, but so does the Tucson and the Jeep. It has an excellent ride quality, but for most people out there, it won't be enough to justify the difference in price and the lack of features like the connected tech and ADAS functions. The Tucson understands how tricky this segment is and therefore settles for a conservative price tag without compromising on features and tech. And so, as the points add up, the Tucson emerges as the clear winner of this test.
Well, safety has become a primary talking point while buying a new SUV. So which of these two would be your pick? Let us know in the comment section on our YouTube channel. We'll be back after a very short break to tell you all about Bajaj Auto's new 125cc commuter